Friday night. Come on in. Let's have some fun over here with the 90s tonight. Tomorrow night we'll do the giveaway. How about that? I think that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I'm getting myself together as y'all come in. This week seemed like it passed awfully fast to me. I don't know about y'all, but it seemed like it was just the weekend, just yesterday. Probably for everybody out there working, it probably seemed like it took a long time to get here because that's the way it feels when I'm out there. But I ain't been, so it's all good. Okay. What time is it? Okay, it's time to get started. Y'all get in where y'all fit in. Y'all always catch the replays. That's good enough for me. Hey, Thomas, how you doing? Good evening. Hope you had a great week, Thomas, and looking forward to a great weekend. How's it going? Talk to me. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the 90s. We just left there not too long ago, so most of us now, if we're not grown, we ought to be grown over here in the chat tonight. Yeah, some of us in the 80s were still very young, but most of us were young adults in the 80s, or mid adults in the 80s. So let's do a little recap. By that time, we'll have some more people in the chat. So we started with the 50s. The 50s was all about coming on our own. It was good times. We were all living in our own homes. We had our cars now, making plenty babies, 5 to 10 to sometimes 12 babies in the household. What's up, Chef Man? You been cooking all day, Thomas? I don't see nothing wrong with that. Hold on, let me speak to y'all. Hey, Joy, y'all popping in. Blessings to you as well. So I was just getting ready to do a little recap of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, 80s, and go into the 90s. Now, we ain't in no hurry tonight because tonight is Friday night. So go on, kick back, relax, get whatever you need to snack on, get your little drink, and enjoy the live. What's up, Charlene? Blessings to you as well this Friday evening. Ms.V, I'm loving that top. Actually, it's a dress. It's a dress. It's a dress. It's got a little ruffle around the bottom. What era you think this dress was copied off of? I bought it 2 years ago, but it's a copy of another era. What era did it come from after we done talked about clothes and stuff? The only thing I don't like is it keeps showing the bra. And I have to pin it not to do it. But the bra is clean, so we all good. Yeah. Yep, I've been walking around with a little dress on today. You like the dress? Yep. It's very thin, so it's got a lining. All right. Z-Man. Keep it PG? Oh. Okay, and welcome to Chatting with Ms.V. I ain't show you nothing. I ain't out here trying to do nothing. I ain't trying to go viral by showing my underplunder, none of that stuff, okay? If I go viral, I want it to be on my content. I don't want it to be because I'm showing my nudity, okay? I'm not me. That's not my style. Hey, Sting, what's up? Okay. I know I was supposed to do a members only tonight. Y'all, I went down there and I went in that studio. I found a lot of things in that studio I had to correct. But and I changed some things around under plunder. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what they called it back in my mother's day. She would always say, I gotta go buy me some under plunder. So yeah. That's what I said. So I got enough people in here. Y'all come as y'all come. So, like I was saying, the 50s, y'all, we already talked about it. So I'm just going to do a quick little brief recap and then we're going to get into the 90s. So the 50s, we had come into our own, like I said. It was good times back then. Lots of babies, and wives were still in the house back then. And so the 60s were activists fighting for civil rights and voting rights. A lot of people were assassinated in the 60s behind that. The entertainers were still out on the chitlin circuit, and Ed Sullivan was just about to come on TV in the 70s and start introducing a lot of Black entertainers. So that's where we were in the 60s. Times weren't quite as good. Clothing had changed to tight-fitting clothing. So let's hop on into the 70s. We're happy people again because we on that Mary J. Wanna. And we out there having a good time despite what's going on in the world. The clothing was outlandish. Anything went. Bandanas, stripes, plaids, flowers, everything went together. We just didn't care. Hey, Miss Aretha, how you doing? Big afros, platform shoes. The hippies were in town. All right. What else happened in the 70s? The jewelry was clunky. You can go back to Mr. T with all the chains and stuff on. That's the 70s. Moving on into the 80s, it was better times again. It had taken 30 years for us to have oil embargoes. You right, Z-Man? So now we're in better times again. Technology has come to life, and it's a lighter era. People are kind of happy again. We've started acquiring again. For 2 decades, we really didn't acquire much after we came out of the 50s. So now things are a little bit better. So let's go into the 90s tonight and see what happened in the 90s. Now, like I say, everybody ought to be grown now that's in the chat in the 90s. I don't think I got anybody young enough to not know the 90s era in the chat. If you are, you're in the wrong chat and you're going to get deleted. Okay. Thanks to my moderator. I see Chef Mac is in here tonight. Hopefully I'll get some more. So the 90s was known as the post-Cold War decade. As you can see, the Vietnam War lasted a very, very long time, and it cost a whole lot of money for Americans. Okay. So what was the 90s all about? Hey, Miss Jackie Johnson and Princess Cassidy, how are you doing? Welcome to Chatting with Ms.V. We're talking about the 90s tonight. We've gone through every era since the 50s. So now we up to the 90s tonight. It was a decade of relatively peaceful and prosperity type of environment. And the Soviet Union had fallen, ending the decade of the Cold War. The rise of the internet had ushered in a radical new era of communication between businesses and entertainment. Much different from our 80s economic struggles. We have none at this point. The 1990s left an indelible mark on popular culture, from the grungy music and the explosion of hip-hop to the emergence of iconic TV and blockbuster movies. I'm trying to keep up with my chat as I go. I spoke to everybody, I think. The 90s was a time of creativity, innovation, and cultural shifts of innovation. Hey, Not Tiger. A decade known for frosted tips. I'm talking about hair now. And boy bands. Well, boy bands on our arms. And it's hard to choose what was the most popular. Hey, Misty. The 90s was a simple time. We didn't have a lot going on, so we could go back to concentrate on our lives again. It was a time when kids constantly quoted Nickelodeon cartoons and adults copied Rachel Green hairstyles and Carrie Bradshaw's Dunk Order hairdos. The era yielded some truly iconic musicians, movies, TV shows, games, and toys. Hey, LaWanda, snacks, and many fashionable trends. Here are some of the most popular fads that define the decade. The TV shows were Cheers. Remember Cheers at the bar? Now, I don't remember this one. Ghosts, because I've never been a big TV watcher. Home Alone was the movie that came out with Cullen McLaughlin. And Hold On and Nick of Time. I only know two that I read off. Norm, you say Z-Man? Okay, I have to take your word because, like I said, I've never been a big TV watcher. I was always into the music. Toys were the Kush Balls. Game was Skip It on Tiger Electronics. Good evening, Naptown. Okay. The snack was the Freeze Pops. Had to buy plenty of them, bought them by the case at Sam's. The food trend was, I don't know how to pronounce this. I've seen it over and over, and I meant to Google it, but it's Tiramisu. Tiramisu. I'm close. Hey, Shatika. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Okay, Lawana, that's the music. Yeah. Good evening to you, Shatika. All right. What else did we have going on? The World Series champions, Super Bowl champions at that era in the beginning was the San Francisco 49ers. The Stanley Cup champion were the Oilers. The NBA champions were the Detroit Pistons. So that's for my athletic enthusiasts, sports enthusiasts, okay? Overall, it was a good time for just hanging out. No problems, just having a good time. Tim Berners-Lee published a formal proposal for the World Wide Web, and the first web page is written. We're in the 90s tonight, okay? A new sitcom came about called Friends, and it becomes one of the most popular shows on TV, and I may have watched it twice, okay? Okay, let's see. Pop culture, even today in the 90s, babies, still have regularly watched reruns. So that was a very good era, y'all. Hey, Carol Anna. The 90s had many sitcoms, soap operas, and dramas that catered to various age groups, from the Home Improvement Show to Sex in the City. So some of this stuff I know y'all remember because you're big enough to have been watching it. There was something for everyone to watch. More about the 90s. You became a mother in the 90s. Okay, Miss Jackie. That was a good thing. Lawana saying, I miss the 70s, my favorite era. I'll catch the replay. Okay, Lawana. Let me see what else y'all saying. Sting tried and still laughing. Okay. Hey, Red's Blissful Connections. Good evening to you. So, more about the 90s. Terminator 2 came out. Judgment Day. Silence of the Lambs. Now, I guess I watched more movies in the 90s because I watched all of those. And those were the popular movies. Hey, Brittany. The album of the year was Quincy Jones, Back on the Block. The fashion for the hair was the French roll. The toy was Super Nintendo. Okay, Z-Man. The game was Light Bright. The snacks for the 90s was potato sticks. And the food of choice was the chicken salad, the Chinese chicken salad. Wasn't in my house, but I guess it was in somebody's house. But that's what research says it was. For the sports enthusiasts, the World Series champions were the Minnesota Twins, and the Super Bowl champions were the Giants. Did I miss anybody? I didn't. The supernatural romance in Ghosts to the thrills of Blair Witch Project. Never watched any of those. Hey, Dreamy Topic, how are you? There were many movies that defined this decade. If you were a kid in the 90s, you probably spent your time watching and rewatching all of the Disney Renaissance movies. Classics like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and A Lion King. Okay, y'all are still speaking. Even adults were enchanted by the new class of animated stories. First time we had the animated stories was in the 90s. There were heartbreaking love stories on a sinking ship, a disastrous theme park. Y'all remember that? First time I saw it, I'm like, what is this? Filled with dinosaurs and war movies about saving a soldier caught behind the enemy line. So those were the type of movies that came out in the 90s. Hey, Glam, 60 Minutes had captured our attention on Sunday night. It came on for what it said, 60 minutes, 1 hour. The End of the Road by Boys to Men was popping in the 90s. Natalie Cole came out with Unforgettable. Unforgettable Love. Fashion was the mood ring. You put the ring on, it supposedly changed colors according to your body temperature. The toy was rocking. Robot cassette player came on the scene. And we talked about that last night, and I didn't know nothing about it, but it seems like that's coming back again, probably 20 plus years later. The game was MASH. The snack was the Little Debbie, the oatmeal cream pie. Y'all know what the Little Debbie is. The food trend was the Caesar salad. AT&T had released the video telephone. You had mood rings? I had one. I didn't keep it very long, but I had one. If you were a kid, there is a chance that you packed Dunkaroos in your lunchbox as a staple item for your lunch every day. Gone on, Ms.V. My BF gave me a mood ring. It was so pretty. Yep, that was a thing in the 90s. And you all would also, in your lunchbox, you would have a Capri Sun, or maybe a high C or a fruit punch. So that's what the kids started off packing in the 90s. And you'll find each decade as we go forth, it changes from year to year. When in the beginning, it lasted about 10 years. But then in the 80s, you start seeing like the beginning of the 80s was about the same. It switched up in the mid 80s and then it ended on a different note. Same thing in the 90s. We're starting off doing one thing and seeing one thing, but it didn't last long. We started switching faster. So now we up to about 1993. Another TV show came out, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The movie was Groundhog Day. Am I bringing back any memories? Whitney Houston came out singing, I Will Always Love You. The fashion was one pants leg rolled up. The toy was the Beanie Baby. And if you have some Beanie Babies today, you can make you some money. They are worth a lot. I bought a lot of Beanie Babies. And I think I left them in one of the houses up in the attic when I had changed over her room from the little girl room to the teenage room and got the water bed. That was her teenage years in there. Or was that the 80s? I don't know. One of them. But I know I put them Beanie Babies up in the attic and I walked off and left them babies up in that attic in that house. Sting says lots of memories. Okay. The game was the wonderful waterfalls. The snack was Dunkaroo. Carol Anna says, I was grown in the 90s, hanging out with my friends at the club. That was a good time. Yeah, things still hadn't gotten too bad. They were worse than the 80s, but not nearly as bad as the 2000s. Okay. The snack was, again, the Dunkaroo and pretzels. The Super Bowl champions, they never fail, were the Dallas Cowboys. For all you Dallas Cowboy fans that were over here in the fall when we were talking about football, they were the champions, okay? And that would have been in 1993. In the late 90s, Game Boy Color was the most exciting game around, with lots of games to complement the game system. Okay? And they start getting very, very expensive. Your toys for your kids, I'm talking about, you're starting to pay money for them now. Anytime they start doing those computerized games and putting those different chips and stuff in there, they're getting really, really expensive. Okay, you also had the Super Mario games. There were plenty of board games still, like Mousetrap, Bop It, and Hungry Hippos. What you saying, Sting? You had Beanie Babies. I worked at McDonald's from the 90s until 2016. Okay, did you keep them? Because, girl, you could turn them in and sell them now and make you plenty money. They could be your retirement fund. If we had only known, we would have kept all that stuff from back in the day. The talking dolls, the dolls that walked, the Beanie Babies. Lord, it was so much we could have kept that if you have it now, it's worth a lot. Jackie Johnson is saying the Xbox. Yes, ma'am. So at the end of the 90s, Pokemon was the coolest thing around. And he was on the Game Boy Color that every kid on the deck had a Pokemon to play with and battle it out with their friends. Up to 1994, Friends was a TV show. Lion King was the highest paid movie. Brittany, on my mind, I guess. Whitney Houston came out with The Bodyguard. The fashion was the neon windbreakers. The food trend were low-fat prepackaged food. Stop right there. Now you know that the wife, the mother, or whoever is out of the house and out of the kitchen, she is definitely in the workplace, because we have gone from home-cooked meals to low-fat prepackaged food now. So we still eating, but we making it convenient. So at this point, coming into the 90s is when you're going to see a lot of difference in body figures, body size, because of how we've changed our diet. We're not eating food that's going to stick with you all day, so you won't be eating all day. When you eat all that snack food and all those prepackaged foods, they just don't give you what you're looking for, so you just keep on eating until you get satisfied. I love my windbreakers. Mama had me too pretty. I'm sure she did. Yes, indeed. And that was Brittany. Oh, wait a minute, I missed one. Mario, yes. Jackie Johnson. The snack foods were the devil food cookie cakes. Never really cared for that. I never really cared for snacks, especially cakes and stuff that had filling in it or chocolate and devil food. I'd rather have something plain than have that. And I've noticed my special needs kids, they don't like all that either. They want plain stuff. They don't like a lot of stuff, in the middle of their cookies and all that. Just make them plain and they good. The game was the mastermind, and the toy was Dear Diary. I'm not buying any toys in the 90s. My child is a teenager now. She ain't into that. She into driving a car. Okay, so I'm paying car notes and insurance for starting at 15 because that's when she got her license. I got her a hardship license because I worked so far out of town. I prayed every day. All right. Um, no World Series that year. Remember? They went out on strike. So Dallas remained the Super Bowl champion. This is 1994. You had a Dear Diary. Brenda, I have no idea what a Dear Diary is. I really don't. Okay. For girls, the Polly Pocket was the hottest toy around. Everyone loved customizing their own little doll. I'm out of doll babies. I ain't buying them no more, so I don't know what that is. Some of y'all who are still late 30s, early 40s are going to know all about this. Unless you were a grandmother out there with small grandchildren, you probably don't know it either. For the boys was the Super Soaks or the Nerf games. Lost. Little kitchen sets. Those have been popular ever since I was a little girl. If you got a kitchen set as a little girl, they just changed them up. The one I had was made out of metal. And I noticed the one that I bought my daughter was made out of plastic. So they changed them up a little bit. They had added a microwave to hers where we didn't have no microwaves back when I was growing up. Okay. So that's right there how times changed. You had a little diary too, a Dear Diary. Oh, like that sweet. You and Brittany had your little diaries. Sting say the Super Soak is a water gun and a big one. I think I remember that from the little nephew I had with me the other day. He had one of those. He was probably about 4 or 5 when he had that gun. Maybe he'll soak you up with it too. In 1995, so we midway through the 90s now, the TV show Eara comes on. The movie was Die Hard with a Vengeance. The song Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. The fashion was combat boots. I had a pair of those. I went over to West Monroe. I was in my hometown and crossed the bridge and went over to the Army Surplus store and got me a pair of combat boots because I had seen it on TV, and that's how I always kept up with the fashions. Whatever they were wearing on TV, I knew it was going to come about in the community sooner or later. Yep. The toy Saved by the Bell game. Lost. And Don't Break the Ice were the games for 1995. You had an easy bake oven. I didn't have an easy bake oven. My child did. I was baking in a real oven. Yep, I couldn't put it in there, but my mom would let me do it in her mixer, and then I put it in a bowl, and then she would put it in the oven for me. And that's how I really started cooking early, was in the kitchen with my mom, because it was just me and her, the two girls. Everybody else in the house were boys, and grandma had passed on then. Let's see what you're saying, Brittany. I love that song. It was number one for one known 7 months. It's off the Dangerous Mind soundtrack. Okay. We all got our favorite songs, and when it come on, that's my song. That's what we say. Oh, that's my song on the radio there. Yeah. All right. The snack was the fruit roll up. See, even the snacks are changing from year to year. We done talked about the Little Debbie. We done talked about some kind of other snack well, devil food cake. Now we talked about the freeze pops. All this is in the 90s. Now we're talking about the fruit roll up. So they really are inventive in the 90s. They're coming up with whatever they can get to get your money. Carol Anna said she liked that movie, Brittany. Okay. And the food trend now is the Lunchables. So that's what your kid is packing in the lunch. And I bought a plenty of the Lunchables too. Yep. So I was one of them 90s mothers that was buying the Lunchables because for some reason my child never ever wanted to eat in the cafeteria. I thought, man, that was so cool when I was in school, but the cafeteria had changed also. Back when I was in school, the cafeteria food was just like home cooked food. We had some cooks back there who could really throw down. I mean, we had cornbread. They probably don't have no cornbread in school today. The lunches have changed so much. You got an easy bake oven with a tea set and a baby alive. I remember the baby alive every year from ages 3 to 9. Oh, Glam, you had a good time back then. I'm bringing back some real memories to you. That was back in the days, a long time ago, says Miss Joy. You were buying Lunchables also? Yeah, didn't have time. I worked 12 hours. Remember, I was at the plant in the lab. So I tried to cook on my days off like I do on the weekends now, at least 4 or 5 meals. So when my husband got home from work, which he worked days, he usually got in before me. I didn't get in till after 7. He usually got in between 4:30 and 5. And then I had a lady to come to the house around 2:30. So when Brandy got off the bus, there would be somebody at the house for her, and she would clean up the house and help Brandy with her homework if she needed it. Usually, she never needed any help with her homework, but to have somebody there with her because she's getting older now, and the times are changing now. So that latchkey kid, she still got a key, but you're not coming in here by yourself anymore because you're becoming a teenager now. It's not gonna happen. She's in middle school, junior high school at this time. So no, ma'am. Mm-mm. The World Series is back, and the Braves take it. The San Francisco 49ers have won the Super Bowl. So what year are we in now? We are now in 1996. We're getting to the end of it. In the early 90s and the mid 80s, trends were still popular like the overalls and big, bold, geometric prints. It took a few years before the decade's own trend began to emerge. In the early to the mid 90s, flannels and Doc Martens were the height of cool. During this time, you had water babies, Brittany. Brittany, you had everything. During this time, muted colors and black clothing complemented the look. I can remember the first year my daughter was in high school. They had a little group of kids over there that wore black lipstick. They all had jet black hair and they wore black clothes every day. I forgot what they called them, but they didn't associate with nobody but who was in that group. That's it and that's all. Even when I go to pick her up on my days off, they would always be over onto the side by themselves. And I talked to her about it, and she was like, they don't mingle with nobody but their own. Shatika is saying the gothic look. Yes, that's what it was, Shatika. Brittany's saying the gothic look. Okay. Sandra's speaking to everybody. Sting is saying the dogs that pee. Yeah, they sure did. Okay. So now we're getting closer to the end of the 90s. So by the end of the 90s, the grungy trend had faded away and replaced with a more casual style. Women were back in casual suits at work again. And baseball caps became a basic accessory for everyday wear. And y'all see Ms.V still love her baseball caps. Bad day, good day. I love anything on my head. And I guess because I got this little ponytail I done made up there, otherwise it'd be tied up. Some would be up there. A is saying flares. Welcome to Chatting with Ms.V. Yep. That's true. So we had casual suits and we had baseball caps. And at the end of the 90s, we saw a resurgence into the 70s style. So you talking 20 years later, I just told y'all, fashion repeats itself. Hairdos repeat themselves. It's only so much you can do. It's buttons or it's zippers or it's big enough to pull over the head. It's short, it's long, it's loose, it's fitted. Ain't too much in betweens. Okay. The end of the 90s saw a resurgence of the 70s look with metallic clothing, crop tops, and maxi skirts flying off the shelves. At the end of the 90s, brightly colored clothing also became popular again. History repeating itself. From classic TV shows to amazing toys, there are tons of them from the 90s that still remain iconic today. Many trends lasted through the whole decade, but some of them were brought over from the 80s until the mid 90s. And each year had its own unique trends, and that is the 90s. Some of, hey, Deborah Silva. Let me see, I missed something. And MIA, are you a part of a conversation? Okay, you're talking to somebody. Okay. So some of the artists that were in the 90s that you may recall, Britney Spears shaved the hair off, remember? When she was going through all those changes. Battling with the family and the men and having the babies and kind of had a little breakdown there. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, Blackstreet, Notorious B.I.G., Pavement Gold Sounds, Missy Elliott, hey Betty, Common People. The 90s had a whole gold rush for singles. We also had Aaliyah, Oasis, Kelly Price, Faith Evans. 1994, that was Flashlight. Remember Selena and Lil' Kim? The Ghetto Boys, New Radicals, In Vogue, lots and lots of them. I'm just naming a few. Sheryl Crow, Helium, Foxy Brown with Jay-Z, the Beastie Boys, and some Mix-a-Lots, just to name a few. Let me see, did I miss anything? I think y'all are still speaking. So that just about wraps up the 90s. The 90s was totally different from any other era because it changed from year to year with clothing, with hairstyles. I take that back. The hairstyle was probably the only thing that remained pretty constant throughout the 90s, the French roll. But I'm going to tell you what happened with that French roll. People who got that French roll week after week lost a lot of hair. Now, I don't know how they made the French rolls in your beauty shop or in your area. But the lady here who was a French roll queen took out a lot of hair. How do I know? Because I got her clients in my chair trying to bring it back. She would make the most beautiful French rolls, but she would do all that teasing to make it big and to comb over. And that hair in the middle started breaking and popping. And she wasn't taking care of it like she should have with conditioners and treating it with protein and stuff. So once they got to me, they had a choice. Either you're going to cut it off Are you going to camouflage this middle? Or you going to cut it up in the back where you've lost hair so we can bob this around here? All you could do is try to give them choices, but the cut was coming. Unless you just gonna hide it up underneath a ponytail until it grow back. But you still gonna have to have this hair treated and trimmed. And you are not a 2-week person. You're a weekly person now. They stayed too long and she did what they asked for. And that became a problem to a lot of women in the 90s. Baby, them French rolls would have you slap bald in the middle of your head. Yes, ma'am, Brittany. I'm telling you, I was in the beauty shop in the 90s. I started actually at the end of the 90s in 99, going to school. So I finished up in 99. My daughter came out of high school. That ain't right. I finished up in 98 because I was in there a year before she graduated from high school because I was doing all of her friends' hair. They would come in like on a Friday and we would be in there from like the time they got out of school. They would get to me about 4 o'clock and I would finish them all about 10 o'clock that night. I would have 5 or 6 of them. And what I do is I shampoo everybody back to back to back, put the conditioner on, put them up underneath the dryer, come out from under the dryer one by one, take the conditioner off. Whatever style they were going to do, if it was a roller set where I was going to do a flat iron on it later, I just want to roll for the body, so they could have some swing to it. Okay, you can go get back under the dryer. The next one, I want to updo. Nobody want the same thing. They go get these books, and I have plenty of books. Ms.V, I want this. Ms.V, I want that. Lord, those were the days, my friend. And it got a little bit better when they got to college. The first year, she didn't go to college with her high school friends. So I was like, I don't have that to deal with. The next year, she came back to Texas and went back to school with them up at Prairie View. Here they come again, loaded up in cars. This time, they come in on Saturdays. I closed at 12 o'clock. If they going to drive all the way from Prairie View to get their hair fixed, then I'm in there all Saturday evening. But at least we have Mondays off in the beauty shop. Let's see what y'all are saying. Right, I was a hairdresser in the 90s in Detroit. So you know what I'm talking about, Jackie. That's the only hairstyle one of my aunts would wear. Is the French roll? I wore it for occasions, but I didn't do it in my hair all the time. Nope. Okay. But that's the one thing, like I said, that stayed constant. These are just readers, baby. These are $4 glasses, $2 glasses. But thank you, Grace. I appreciate that. I have to wear them to see the little writing on the screen or when I'm reading. But other than that, I have had cataract surgery, so I have lens in my eyes permanently, like contact lens, so I don't have to have them. Let's see what you're saying, Carolina. In the 90s, I had a relaxer and started that decade with my hair shoulder length and was wearing it short by the end of the decade. I was 40 when I got my first haircut. It was past the shoulders on the first haircut, much, much thicker than it is now. I never had thin hair until I got on blood pressure pills. It started thinning it out, and aging started thinning it out. Before then, my hair was so thick as a young girl, I would hate it because I didn't have no relaxer. And my mama didn't have no mercy. She just be pulling and yanking. And then she started taking me to get it pressed. Oh, Jesus, the ears got burned up. The hands got burned up. I'm trying to hold on to the ears. And then my cousin Essie, she on that phone and be talking on the phone, burning your ears and your hands up and talking about you need to be still. How the hell I'm going to be still when you burning me up? Vonda, I'm late, but I'm here. Happy Friday, ATV. We'll catch the replay. I appreciate you, Vonda, always. Okay? Okay, let's see. Did I reach you, Carolina? Yeah, I got my first relaxer Probably shouldn't have never done it. But I was dying because I wanted straight hair. I never had straight hair. It's always been curly. So I got my first relaxer. I think it was Ultra Sheen at 16. Yep. And I wore it from 16 to when the natural hair came back in. What, 10, 15 years ago? The natural hair started coming back in. And then I got rid of it. Yep. But I should have never put it on there from the beginning. It didn't do no good. I mean, as soon as the water or the dampness hit it, it was going to go back curly. That was its natural state. So I really messed up on that. And I did it with my daughter too. But she left it alone back when she was in college. She got away from the relaxers. And she and her daughter do pressing, or they do the flat irons. She didn't never put a relaxer in my granddaughter's hair. I've been natural now for 20 years. Your hair is probably healthy too. Much healthier. Okay, Rhea, speaking to y'all, lots of people was coming out of the Jerry curls. That was a transition, yes. And that wasn't easy either, because that natural hair was much stronger than that chemically processed hair. So wherever that hair was, you had to really, really take care of it, because it was going to break right at that point between the natural hair that had grown back and that Jerry curl. And at some point, I'm like, look, we just need to take this off the ends, because it's going to break anyway. So come on, what you going to do? So then I started suggesting, if you're not going to cut it off, then you need to go get some braids. But you need to be careful around them edges, because they're going to take all your hair out. And also, Jackie, do you remember that's when the wig, the lace fronts came in? Baby, everybody went bald-headed putting them lace fronts on, because they was gluing the hell out from around. And then they started off shaving the hair off, because this girl working in my shop had told me she wanted to put one on me, but she had to shave all my edges off. Baby, I lost edges anyway, fooling with all them wigs and braids and all that stuff. But I probably would have been bald. It wouldn't have been nothing around there if I had fooled with her. Valerie, my friend that I talk about all the time. Girl, no. Kara Emma says, okay, I read yours. Sandra says, my dad give me Super Bowl haircut. I hated long hair. I was tender-headed. Me too, but I ain't have no choice. My mama wasn't going to do that. She wasn't going to use no scissors on. Now, she cut hers. She kept hers short, but she wasn't going to let me do it. Miss Jackie, I had a Jerry curl early 80s in junior high school. I tried the Jerry curl. Hair already curly. And I went and got a Jerry curl. Make it make sense, y'all? I did. I had a Jerry curl for about a year. Yeah. Cut all my hair off, all the relaxed hair off, and let it grow out to get a Jerry curl. That was the craziest thing I ever seen. All it did was change the curl pattern to be something like this. That's what it did. I've been through some changes with this hair. Okay, my hair curly. That's why I like mine's cut. Okay, Miss Sandra. Sting is saying, Carol Anna, everyone in my family had Jerry curls except me. You wasn't doing the drip drip, Sting? And love you back. Yes, Sting, you didn't want that drip drip. That was Tajista in here last night talking about the drip drip with the plastic bag. That would get on my nerves. And then they come back with all them parts in the hair where they done rolled it up on them little bitty rods. That was so crazy looking to me. Now, after about a week, it looked all right. Me too, Ms.V. I had good hair. I don't know if I call it good hair or what kind of hair, but it was my daddy's hair. I didn't take nothing after my mama when it came to hair. I got her looks and her height, but hair, no. If I had had her hair, my daughter has hair like my mom, real thick, long, coarse hair. And my sister does. But I went over there on my daddy's side with that little old curly hair stuff. Uh-uh. The receding hairline. The cowlicks like him. Going back. I mean, I got everything from him. He really marked his first daughter. Mm-hmm. My hair is naturally curly, so I didn't need a jerry curl. I didn't either, thing. I don't know what made me do that. I just everybody else was wearing it, so I wanted to wear it too. Shatika says, when I wash my hair naturally curly, the afro look is in now. Yes, and I really like the natural styles that they have out here now. And a lot of people can really, really do a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of YouTube with the hairstyles, even though I'm not in the business anymore and don't want nothing to do with fixing anybody's hair anymore. But I like to see all of the creativity that they come up with the natural hair and how they do it. I'm still intrigued by it. Yeah. Okay. The afro look is in now, and it's been in for a little while. And I think it's probably here to stay because they have found out now that relaxing the hair does cause brain cancer. And so, therefore, I think you'll see less and less relaxed hair year after year after year because I don't ever want it in my head again. I did a whole lot of relaxing, made a whole lot of money off of relaxing hair, but we didn't know no better. That is actually lye that's absorbing through your scalp. So it's no telling what it's doing inside. You got pores up there, so it's going inside. And now we find out always years later, probably 40 years later, what it has done to a lot of people who are no longer here. Sad, but true. So, y'all, this has been the commentary on Long Live the 90s tonight. I hope you all have enjoyed it. Yep, and I think the most trendy thing about the 90s was the changing of the hair. Y'all remember the conch? Oh my God, yes. I had a few cousins that came to town with the conch. Ouch. James Brown with the hair. I don't know if it was conch, pressed, relaxed. All I know is when brother got up there and started sweating, it went back to its natural state. He started off, it was, you could tell he had just been to the hairdresser. By the end of the show, no more. Carol Anna say, I wear my natural curly by doing Bantu knots. That's a good way of doing it. It's healthy too, to do it that way. I love wearing my natural hair except when I work out and sweat. Yeah, you probably should put the Bantu knots in there when you go to work out or braid it up or something. And that way it won't be so all over your head because it's going to go back to where it came from. Yeah. So that's it, y'all. I came up on my hour and I don't know how y'all feel, but I thought I would stop at the 90s because we all have lived through the 2000s. Ain't nobody in here no 20 nothing, no 30 nothing, okay? So I'm going to stop at the 90s instead of going into the 2000s because we all have lived it and we all know about it, everything about it. So we're going to be coming up with some more topics starting when I come back on, if I come on this weekend or if I come back on Monday. So this will be the end of the eras, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I really appreciate all of y'all coming in and listening to it and, participating in the chats. It's been fun. Brought back lots and lots of memories of days gone by and where I was, what I was doing, where y'all were, who y'all were with, what y'all were eating. And I really have enjoyed this more so than probably anything I've done since I've been out here on YouTube. So I'm going to try to come up with some more great topics for next week. I'll still be home, so I have time to do my research and come up with something else. Thank you, Kara Anna. Great topic this week. I appreciate that. And thanks to each and every one of y'all who have come into the chat. I see the trolls weren't so bad tonight, and I appreciate them being nice too. From the 50s to the 90s, great commentary. Thank you, Sting. And Misty says she enjoyed the evening. Right, I appreciate that. Y'all hit the like button. You're welcome, Barbara, and welcome to Chatting with Ms.V. Hit the subscribe button. Share it out for me if you can. And I will see y'all probably sometime this weekend. We're going to go to, thank you, Charlene, great live. I'm going to the fair tomorrow morning. It's a brunch. And I've taken y'all to one of them before. It's for the pastor's wife down at the church, but it's always great gospel singing. The food is good. And tomorrow we're all in pink except for Ms.V gonna wear pink and black because I couldn't never find the pink shirt, and then I got hurt and I didn't feel like going out there to try to find one. But I like the skirt, and that was the only skirt that I could find at the time. So I might pop on sometime tomorrow. It might be in a video instead of a live. I don't know. All depends. But I will pop on this weekend and talk to y'all and all next week because I'll still be home. So y'all have a great night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Ethan, Big Black Cadillac. Okay. BBC. I don't know what all that means. Oh, Big Black Cadillac. Okay. So y'all have a great night, and I enjoyed y'all, each and every one of y'all. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace and love to you. Good night.